Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I'm your host, Zoe Chad. Joining me is Stories from Marcus. Marcus, how the heck are you?
Good man. Always good to be chatting with you on the rocky road to WrestleMania with y'all.
Just a few shows. Things came up. If you had seen me yesterday and what I was going through physically, I'll spare the gory details, but you would have been like, what did you do the show? And two, you sound like you're not dying. And to that, I would say, well, I'm Wolverine, so heal fast. No, but Sunday into Monday was a very rough time for me. I won't go into the gory details, but I'm back. I'm ready to go. We have an interesting show. Static headset is going, so I'm trying not to move around too much. It's an old PlayStation headset. The clarity on this son of a bitch has been fantastic, and if I can find some more, I should buy them. I really like the quality of the sound that comes out of it. But apologies if there's any staticness or anything that goes in and out. We're going to do our best to minimize that. Just like we're going to do our best to minimize the absurd, unbelievable, undeniable amount of that the greatest wrestler in the history of humanity, past, present, made his debut at the Elimination Chamber event, which, let's be honest, sucked. And in fact, every major event, I'm not going to call them a pay-per-view because you don't pay for them anymore. And I'm not going to call them a PLE because that's just fucking stupid. Every major event that WWE has had since Triple H took over has sucked. 2 nights of bullshit. I hate it. I don't care what they say, Marcus. The 2 nights of WrestleMania, 2 nights of SummerSlam, it's not making the events better because you're not shortening the show. If you were shortening it to 2 hours, okay. Feels a little bit lackluster, but like whatever. But no, they're still like almost 4 hours. They're only 4 or 5 matches. And there's so much dead air. There's so much talking heads. And there's ads and commercials. And I remember when we were doing the show before the co-host Ed Scolia. He would like, why are you getting so mad about the ads? It's not a big deal. They don't take that long. And I'm like, it's an entry point. They're gonna get longer. They're gonna become more prevalent. No, they're not. Fucking Ed, it may have taken me 14 years. Right? Watching one of these goddamn events is like watching like a Billy Hayes commercial. Does your boat leak? Slap on this toxic sludge and it won't. Well, okay. And I feel like that's what I'm watching. Are you bored? Watch this show and fall asleep. So here, that's where we're at. We're at the point where these shows are just unfucking watchable. They are turning their shows into the only thing I watched from most shows are highlights on Twitch. Adjustment because I'm hearing some pretty nasty reverb, so I think the cord needs to be adjusted. You let me know if I'm still coming staticky. So good.
Something else.
So good. You know?
It's muffling.
Muffling.
Yeah.
All right, let's just do this. Maybe we'll do this. How about now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. I just threw it, so like wherever it was gonna fall. But most of these major events suck now, and so I don't really understand why anyone was like, "Oh my God, they're gonna bring out Danhausen. He's in his crate, and why would they do that on a major event? And it's like, guys, these events suck. They're bad. They're not very good. They're boring. They're long. Commercials everywhere. I see the announcers more than I see anyone else. I'm sorry, but like the panelists, who the fuck cares about the panelists? Like, goddamn. So they finally bring out the crate, and already the comparisons are pissing me off because like it's gobbledygooker. Well, one part that always bothers me, Marcus. You saw a giant egg. Why would you think it's Ric Flair, right? Like, why would you think in your head, oh, it's Thanksgiving, it's a giant egg, it's gonna be Ric Flair? No, it's obviously gonna be something fucking stupid, right? Like we know that. We know it's gonna be something fucking stupid. So why are we even upset? What's going on with this headset tonight? Jesus Christ. So, oh my god, it's still good.
No, no, this is the clearest you've been.
Awesome. All right, so when you see a giant stupid box that says "Don't open till Elimination Chamber," why would you think it was The Rock? Why would you think it's some big debut? I don't get that. You know this company. You know it's stupid. Anytime you see a stupid thing, why would you expect it not to be stupid? So they open up the crate, and already you can just see straight through into I guess the gorilla position,
Yeah.
because they had to have like 7 or 8 dancers come out first, which I actually thought was a great treat. It kind of had that uh, Batman '89 when Joker was doing that commercial with all of his jokettes.
Oh yes, yes.
Love that Joker. And there's a reason why it felt like that because Danhausen has, he has that goofy saying now, love that Danhausen. So the girls came out, they had his face paint on, they all had the same kind of wig on, and black cat suits with heels. And listen, I'm not a clown makeup guy, but the overall look was doing it for me. The black suits, the bob cut hair, just worked for me. They had a little goth feel, and I like that. Then Danhausen comes out, gets in the ring, poses. There was a smattering of boos. The amount of people I'm like, they're booing him. I'm like, are we watching the same show? And listen, I'm not a WWE apologist. And I've never liked anyone so much that I'm going to ignore reality to champion them. If he got booed, I'll tell you he got booed. I didn't hear booing. There was a few people who booed, but like the idea that he was booed out the building, like so much of Twitter is saying, a fucking fallacy. It was maybe at best 5% of the building. At best. Like, come the fuck on, guys. So he comes out. Twitter loses their fucking minds. So many like diehards are like, "Oh my god, the company is cooked. Oh my god, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." And I'm sitting here going, "Y'all are fucking stupid." He's gonna become everyone's favorite wrestler because he's so unique, so different, and he's so goddamn entertaining. And all these morons took all of 24 hours to change their mind on him because he had a great little skit with Adam Pearce. And on Twitter, I was, advocating for us to do less, if not no sketches anymore, because a lot of times you put people like Dominic Mysterio or fucking Johnny Gargano or these fucking talentless hacks who have no real charisma or personality in these segments, and you're like, oh my god, they're so bad. Well, of course they're bad. The people they're in there with are terrible. Danhausen's not a great wrestler. He's fine. He can put on a decent enough match. But Danhausen is all character. He's going to be everyone's new favorite comedic act because he's so goddamn charming. And people are gonna fall in love with this guy through his backstage skits, and this is why Ron Killings at 53 or what have you is still popular because he's just pure entertainment every time he touches the screen. Danhausen's the same way. You're gonna get this guy on screen, he's gonna go nuts. It could be a 30-second skit, it could be a 3 minutes. He's gonna be magnetic, and people are gonna fall in love with him. I think there's things to touch up. I don't love the theme song with the era of big money in WWE. I feel like they could have gotten the Tequila song from Pee Wee Herman if they wanted, or they could have gotten a more decent song. But then again, a lot of WWE's music sucks these days. So I'm not that surprised that Danhausen was a disappointment. The other one is I would work on how he delivers the "you're cursed" line because it felt almost unimpactful. So he comes out, does the whole bit with the with Adam Pearce. Then he hands him off to the Judgment Day. Um, says hi to Dom. Says hi to Finn. Forgets Shady McDonough's name, which was fucking hilarious. And he's like, "Ooh, can I have that?" To Dom's IC title, and Dom's like, "No, this is the closest you're ever gonna get." And then Danhausen goes, "You're cursed." Like it was fine, but like there could have been more build up, more emphasis. I think we'll get there. Sure shit though, Dom goes out, loses the IC belt to Pentagon, and now people are like, "Wait, is he gonna curse people and they lose?" That'd be that would be absolutely what they should do,
He's he'll become a walking feast of fire.
right? And how great would that be though, as a character? I will say that a lot of the reactions I got saw online were hilariously misguided. They're like, "Oh, CM Punk should never return to the company," and I'm like, "Really, guys? Really? Like Danhausen's a great dude." Um, all the shit you hear about him is either exaggerated or an out and out lie. Someone was saying that Danhausen got fired from AEW because of some type of like, what was it, bootleg merch situation, but no one actually have any proof about that. It was just some random ass Reddit post that went viral. So like, who's to say that's even true? Then you had a bunch of people who were like, Danhausen's not even well known. No one knows who Danhausen is, and I got to go back to his AEW debut. He got pulled out from underneath the ring, and he got a huge fucking pop. People know who Danhausen is. And he's on Conan O'Brien's podcast, for Christ's sakes. Like, how do you not know who this dude is if you're in the wrestling sphere? I'm not saying you have to like the guy. Don't pretend you don't know who he is. He's fucking everywhere. So, now that he's in WWE, though, I have a feeling like, here, you can't see this, but there's a clip of this girl with her eyes covered reacting to Danhausen's debut. Fuck all the way off. I'm not saying this dude's going to come in and have 5-star classics or become a world champion, but also not every wrestler needs to be a world champion. I think I tell you this constantly. Like on the daily. Not every wrestler needs or should be a world champion company. That's not everyone's job. Sometimes you just need to be the best gimmick you can be to get eyes on you. Get eyes on the product. That's what Danhausen can be. You may not like him, but he's gonna do the job.
Yeah,
Marcus, what was your takeaway with the Danhausen of it all?
didn't see it coming. I just think it's cool to see Danhausen. Like he got a lot of flack for it, but one thing I appreciated the most about Cody Stardust gimmick was just how committed he was to staying in character. I think because so much of the quote unquote IWC is so focused on being, the Monday morning quarterbacks and, you know, really just coming up with their own stories that they kind of concoct because to go back to your earlier point, the show is just so mundane. They kind of have to damn near at this point that, that there isn't even appreciation for somebody who really, I mean, essentially he kind of locked into that character all the time. Um, and I appreciate that because that's just a level of commitment that's kind of just been really abandoned in a lot of ways because of just how far back the curtain's been pulled And that's before Unreal came out. So um, I appreciate that. The debut was what it was. That wasn't the hottest Chicago crowd they ever had. Um, they put him out there. He got the reaction he got. I think he was far more effective, to your point, in the backstage segments. I was going to ask you how much, if any, indictment is this on somebody like an R-Truth, but then I thought about it. Essentially, they needed an R-Truth for Raw because Truth's on SmackDown.
Hmm.
So uh, now they got Danhausen for Raw, which is cool, and somebody that can really play off Adam Pearce, where he doesn't necessarily have to scream and curse at him all the time. So I think he'll fit well with that. And like you said, they could do something interesting with that curse where somebody like Mysterio, who essentially was holding that IC strap hostage, uh, it was at his peak on Gunther. They could have kept that momentum going with uh, Braun, but they dicked him around with it twice, and it's kind of been held hostage by Dominic. So that was a healthy way of getting it off of him, and they could use that going forward. But that also shows a lack of creative uh, ingenuity because ultimately, like I said, they didn't feel like they was doing anything with Dom. I mean, they kind of had him splitting his time between the main roster and AAA. That IC title was in purgatory. Hopefully, it regained some momentum with Penta. God knows they took their sweet time going back and forth whether or not they was gonna put it on him. It seemed. So I'm just happy that Danhausen is continuing to work. I didn't know he was leaving AEW. I know we hadn't seen him for a while. Um, so hopefully they don't run him into the ground with this. We know how they like to get something, it works, and then they kill it till it dies, and then they kill it while it's dead, and then they re-bring it back and kill it again. So hopefully he doesn't fall into that monotonous cycle that we see. But as far as the internet goes, come on, they, there's nothing but things to complain about with WWE. He was just one more thing right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, all talent fall in that WWE vacuum eventually. Where they fall into things and just eventually just you know tucker out. As far as Danhausen goes, I think he's going to be great. I think he's going to pop up on both shows until they nail him down. I don't know what his ceiling is, but this is kind of where I get mad at the WWE for not having like the cruiserweight title because he'd be perfect for that. He really would. Having a belt that you can use these guys with that doesn't have high stakes. WWE had the TV title, and that was a real great title for them because they got to exercise out who they thought could be something. You could put that belt on Booker T one night, Prince IK the next, Fit Finley another, Chris Benoit the next, and then finish it off with like fucking Rick Steiner, and you'd be able to evaluate them all. Like who can we drive up the card? Some guys like Prince IK, Disco Inferno, what have you, they were over enough to warrant a title win because the crowd would pop a bit, but they're not over enough to draw a big audience. So you don't put them much higher. And I feel like if you had a belt like that for Danhausen, he'd be the perfect guy for it. A TV title, a title, something like that. 24/7 title would have been fine with it, or the old hardcore title, the 24-hour one. It would have been great for Danhausen. Something that allows him to flex his creativity. Unfortunately, the WWE doesn't have any of those belts. They have 16 different intercontinental titles. It's like that's cool, but they don't have any belts that can actually highlight lower end talent. So
Yeah,
he
that's
might
true.
win the tag straps at some point, but I don't see much else in terms of title wins than that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he would ever do anything with Ron Killings because that could be funny.
No, that actually might what they're doing because God knows they've absolutely abandoned any serious notion that character had, particularly when he cut his hair. So they got him back doing his all true shtick, and got him basically telling people how to download apps and get to however you want to get to the content via ESPN and God knows whatever else they pouring their content out on. So um, that'll be an interesting tag team.
Did you hear?
Like I said,
Not to interrupt, but this is too good to not interject with. Did you hear that someone within TKO, I forget who it was, said that they understand that ESPN is too much of a price point for most WWE fans to watch their shows on?
it's too high of a price point.
Hmm.
They,
They already know that most WWE fans won't use ESPN. They already know it.
I don't understand these people. You know you pricing out people from your shows, but you keep your tickets the same price. You know that it's far easier for people to get to a place like New Orleans instead of Las Vegas, and you announce New Orleans, but you put it in Las Vegas. Like it's insane.
It's incredibly insane, mostly because when you think about this, they've been on ESPN for how many months now? Like
But
4 or 5?
yeah, something I fact, yeah.
Because they started streaming on ESPN last year, at the end of last year. And, headlines are everywhere. Top WWE and TKO group exec criticizes ESPN unlimited price for fans. WWE and ESPN facing DNA mismatch behind the scenes. TKO exec says ESPN unlimited price point is somewhat prohibitive. This isn't like fucking, this isn't nothing. They debuted, I guess, last year at SummerSlam. Let me read the actual article before I start saying shit. WrestlePalooza in September. So they've been on ESPN since WrestlePalooza. And they're all like, oh, yeah, the numbers for Elimination Chamber were a little bit higher than WrestlePalooza, which says to me every other show since then were down below WrestlePalooza. Because it's all about learning how to speak corporate bullshit. You can't say something is somewhat prohibitive. If you ever put any negative spin on a situation, things are dire. Because you never want to put yourself in a situation where you have to explain or prove that something isn't going badly, right? So they're already admitting it's bad. And then one exec said, it may have been an ESPN exec, I can't remember the exact quote, but one of the execs said that the numbers for Elimination Chamber were higher than that of WrestlePalooza. Why would it be higher than WrestlePalooza? Why wouldn't it be higher than Royal Rumble? Why wouldn't it be on par with Royal Rumble? Why wouldn't it be lower than? Why wasn't this said about the Royal Rumble? Because Royal Rumble was under WrestlePalooza. This is and God, I want to take a victory lap so hard right now, but I know it's not the time. I know it's still premature. I said to everyone, you go to Netflix, you triple your audience potential, and you bring in lower ratings than you were on USA Network. That is a sign that they are not going to keep you. You go to ESPN. You have to have the app in most cases, and now not in all cases, but in most cases, to even download the event and pay for it. So you have to pay for the ESPN Unlimited app, and then you have to pay for the pay per view. That's psychotic. That is psychotic. Now I think there might be some services where like you get the app and then you get like X amount. I don't know, and I don't care. All I know is on Triller, you go buy the event. I don't need to. I think I need to have a Triller account, but I don't need to pay for it. I could just go buy the event once I sign it. Then it's mine. I could go back and rewatch any show on Triller that I've bought, whether it's a TNA event, an AEW event, what have you. It's not the case on ESPN. And I guarantee you that the impact that WWE has had since leaving Peacock in terms of its all around viewership is dramatic. You go from being able to pay, what was it, $7.99, $8.99, $9.99 a month, what have you, to have just about, I would say, about 88% of the entire WWE library at your fingertips. Pretty laid out well, too, by the way. And now you're moving to Netflix, but not all your stuff's on Netflix. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that's not on Netflix. And now your overall viewing experience is down. getting as much views because you took a lot of content away. And I don't know what the Netflix content situation looks like with WWE. They could have all the major pay-per-view events up. I don't know what they're doing over there. I don't really watch Netflix anymore. All I know is you go from a service that a lot of people had, that a lot of people liked, that a lot of people found very easy to use, and you went to a harder service to use with a higher price point and less content. People are not going to be as engaged. Then you went to ESPN with all their bullshit that really hampered the UFC. I don't know why the WWE would then go back to them. I don't know why TKO would allow that, considering how bad their relationship was with the UFC and ESPN. I don't know why they would do that, but here they are. So they're getting into there. People aren't watching the shows to the same degree as they were on Peacock. Netflix ratings are down. Attendances are starting to sink. And I know what you're going to say, well, they're still higher than AEW. Brother, this ain't about AEW. I know that's your whataboutism go-to argument, but we ain't going there. Because here's the thing, AEW is living in a housing structure that fits them. They have concrete base. They have brick walls. Yeah, it's a small house, but it's a good house. WWE is living in a high-rise penthouse deluxe built on a bunch of sand, some interconnected stakes, all on the edge of a cliff on a fault line. If terrible things befall AEW, they'll survive because they're not holding up as much weight. If terrible things befall the WWE, dramatic changes will be in store. Say this with me at home. Nothing is ever too big to fail. The
You
WWE
said
could,
good day, sir.
right? The WWE could very easily have found themselves out. And this is, if they go back into the history of companies, go watch a channel called Company Man. This YouTube guy that documents the rise and falls of businesses. It's a pretty, about 13 to 17 minutes per episode. You get enough information to know what's going on. And almost all the time, whenever you talk about a company that fails, that falls in on itself and it implodes, it always happens when they're one at their highest, and two when they tried to expand too fast. The WWE expanded to Netflix and ESPN with the idea that they would become taken more seriously, that they would have a bigger opportunity for revenue, and in doing so, they jacked up all their prices across the board, and they started touring to places that have been deemed more sophisticated in its touring catalog. But what they didn't realize is that the same person that they propped up privately and in front of the cameras, the old Cheeto in chief, has almost single handedly made WWE's survival all that much harder, only because one of the biggest cities impacted by tourism was Las Vegas. Las Vegas tourism is down, I think they said something like 60% year to year. That is
Yeah.
absolutely insane. I've seen videos of weekends on the Vegas Strip where it looks like people are just not there, which is absurd. Las Vegas?
Somebody did a whole video on it that shit was going around. It's weird too, and it's weird because I was watching, I was listening to. This how crazy it is. I was listening to Jim Cornette of all people talk about this, he did this one time. We made some salient points, and this and this tells what you were saying. They overdid the quantity, but really overplaying their hand with the quality because they were riding high, coming off of that 5 year bloodline story.
Mm-hmm.
Then that that was done once Roman lost the belt, and then came a Roman with no reigns, a Chief with no pride, and all that stuff. Then you were able to milk John Cena retirement, um, while almost fumbling that bag with that horrendous ass heel turn, which only got which really peaked when it first happened, and you almost fumbled your way out of that. And now, and you know this because you know have to keep up with this stuff. And somebody was talking about this when it came to like sports events, everything is going up now. Everything is going up. The average sports wrestling fan, they're getting priced out of being able to go to these events because everybody is making money hand over fist in these stadiums. Hell, these airlines, they're catering to their premium clients. Like I've heard and I don't really fly, but I've heard they're taking out a lot of the like economy seats to do more first class and premium stuff.
Some airlines are,
And
yeah.
apparently, yeah, and apparently they doing a lot of that stuff with the stadiums as well. Like everybody's trying to cater to these elites, and they're pricing everybody else out, and they're wondering why their numbers are dwindling. And they're not doing anything about the price because they're just banking on all these rich folks going to keep them afloat. And WWE is doing the same thing. And it's like Vegas of all places. And Fournette mentioned that one of the biggest draws to Vegas was even if you couldn't uh, be one of the high rollers that went to the casinos and did all the things, you could at least eat because that's how they drew you in. They got you with the cheap food, but now it's gone damn near arm and a leg to do that. So everything's going up, and I don't know if it's even a lot of people that want to even go to Vegas. New Orleans is a different thing. New Orleans still has an attraction to it. Obviously, that's a uh, destination thing for a lot of people, but they didn't want to do that. They wanted to go to the high place thing. They wanted to run Vegas again. And between that and I don't know how things are going to go, but they also, I mean, obviously they bent the knee to Saudi, to your point, Saudi, and by way of that, Trump. So, and they're really overhedging all their bets. And it's really in between that and they're kiboshed the watch parties because they not selling tickets. Like it's just can't flip off your base. That's exactly what they're doing.
Pro wrestling caters to the middle class. It always has. Vince McMahon is a more than likely a rapist. He's a sexual predator. He's a bastard, downright racist, right? He always knew his clientele. Say whatever you want. He always knew his clientele. Too many, and this is part of the issue when you see all these acquisitions. You're going to see it with Paramount and Warner Brothers, which is just fucking awful for entertainment. When these things happen, the money that's spent does not exist. When TKO bought the WWE, they didn't actually, for the sake of argument, let's just say it was $1 billion. I think it was different. I think it was higher. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it was $1 billion. TKO didn't just break open their piggy bank and give Vince McMahon $1 billion. They went to hedge funds, private banks. They probably got 3 or 4 different loans to give the money to Vince McMahon. So now TKO has to pay all that money back. So prices have to go up. Because you just overspent for something that doesn't actually have that value. So you jack up the prices to make the money back. When you jack up the prices to make the money back, all you end up doing is passing along the actual weight of that responsibility to the consumer. We've tried to teach people about tariffs for the last 2 years, and I feel like people are just fucking stupid. They haven't figured that out. Same situation here. WWE ticket prices, merchandise prices, event prices have all gone up only because TKO needs to make their money back. They have to pay back the loans, and then they have to start making a profit off of this as quickly as possible. The enjoyment of the viewer is not relevant to them. They only see money. They only care about money. So they will do whatever it takes to augment and distort this entertainment that so many middle to lower income people have loved for 80 or 90 years, before Vince McMahon Sr. was even in the game. And they will manipulate every price point possible to make as much money as possible, even if it's a deterrent to the long-term stability of the company, because as long as they make their money back with a little bit of profit afterwards, they can then sell this to somebody else. And if you don't think that's where the WWE is going, you're not fucking paying attention. As soon as TKO turns a profit on this franchise, they will sell it because it will no longer be profitable to keep it because they will have done so much to ruin it in trying to make money off of it that they won't have anything left to really exploit. So they'll sell it. And you'll say, they wouldn't do that. They do it all the time. How do you think Toys R Us ended up going belly up? It was a profitable $1 billion, maybe not $1 billion, maybe $1 billion business. And then it went under overnight. How did that happen? Well, because a private equity firm bought it over value, had to take out loans for it, had to pay back the loans, had to pay back the interest, had to start making a profit off of it. And they did everything they could to nickel and dime and streamline this property to generate as much income as possible to then sell it off for pieces and make even more money. This will happen to the WWE. It'll probably happen to the UFC as well. So we're at a point now where we're looking at the WWE and all these price gouges and a probably lackluster show for WrestleMania. And people are like, well, it's not a big deal. It's a terrible deal. And you've set a precedent now for 20, what are you on, 42? For 20 years? That you have to run a major venue for WrestleMania. You can't run a stadium again. You can't go to, whatever the New Orleans Pelicans, what is it, the Smoothie King Arena? Isn't that what your guys is called?
Yeah.
You can't go to Smoothie King Arena anymore. You can't go to the fucking Timberwolves in Cleveland. You can't go to whatever crypto.com, bullshit scam market that the Lakers have on their arena now. You can't go to any of these arenas. You'll be laughed at. Like, the entire reputation that you have developed over the last 20 years will be eviscerated if you run Madison Square Garden for another WrestleMania. You can't do that. You would be out of business the next year. That's like the Super Bowl. Having to play a game at a local Division II college that holds 15,000 people. Yeah, it might be a good showing for the local college team. But you're the goddamn Super Bowl. You're not playing in front of 15,000 people. And if you're WrestleMania and you have to start running smaller venues because you can't sell the tickets because you've priced them at $1,000 for nosebleeds, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. You can't lower ticket prices because fans are just going to point out the fact that you can't sell tickets anymore. We're in a no-win situation. The only obvious end game to all of this is for TKO to sell the WWE before they become a detriment to their books. And it's going to happen. And it's going to hurt. Fans are not going to like who they get sold to because at this point, TKO will look for a profit off the sale. So if they bought it for $1 billion, they're looking for 1.1. There's not going to be a lot of people that will buy the WWE, let alone buy it for 1.1. Again, I'm lowballing probably what they're going to ask for. So when all that happens, who do you think is going to buy it? The Saudis. I can't imagine another business owner going, yeah, you know what? I want this. Now, there is one name, depending on if he's still alive come then. I could see Vince McMahon getting back in the ring to buy this. I don't know if that would be a good thing for the company or not. But if he did buy the company back, assuming my philosophy about what's going to happen with it does come to fruition, I could see two things happening. One, he takes it private, meaning no more investors, no more shareholders, no more stakeholders, no more nothing. And two, he'd probably give it to Stephanie, not Paul, Stephanie. I could not see him giving it to anyone else at this point. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Because as we saw with what happened with the removal of Scott D'Amore in TNA. Yeah, Scott wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible. And if you think removing him will give you the opportunity to get to great, sure, that exists. But also, you could also drop to terrible. Or no difference. And we've seen some pretty bad television from TNA since they got rid of Scott D'Amore. Was it more perfect? No. Was he better than what we were getting? Most nights, yes. And I feel that when and if the WWE gets sold, you're going to have a very similar situation where Was TKO, was Vince terrible? No. Is the new owner terrible? Probably. More than likely. There's only so many people in this world that can run a company. I know people don't want to hear that, but you might own a little cell phone shop, you might own a little liquor store, you might own a little liquor store. But you may not be good at that. Might upset the average American businessman, but yeah, you know what? Most people aren't good at their jobs. So the idea that someone else can come in, run a company as well as Vince McMahon did for as long as he did, with all the shameful, deceitful, evil acts that he committed to stay on top and hold people down. All that aside, he was successful. The only reason the WWE got sold for the price they did is because of what Vince McMahon built. Say what you will. The odds that you're going to find someone else who can run a company like that absolutely is nil. At this point, I feel like you're going to be watching the downfall of the WWE over the next 5 to 10 years because you now run into a situation where the company that owns them don't really care about them. They're just using them as a profit center. And once that profit dries up, so will the company. Don't want to hear it, but it's the absolute fucking truth. Now, that being said, as far as Danhusen goes, hell of a signing. Can't wait to see what they do with him. But this blends really well into our conversation, as we shuffle on down the line into WrestleMania. This is one of the worst WrestleMania cards I've ever seen. It's one of the worst WrestleMania builds for WrestleMania I've ever seen. The Danhausen debut is not a fair, registration, if you will, of the event. I don't think we can sit here and properly hang our hats on that. And a lot of people were like, in 2011, we were getting Taker versus Triple H build. That build sucked. But I understand what you're saying. This year, we're not getting that. We're getting CM Punk and Roman Reigns because, we all want to see that, right? 47-year-old and a 43-year-old going at it. Ooh, can't wait. People really are high on Roman Reigns for some reason. As if the last 10 years being mostly terrible, except for maybe a year and a half, didn't exist, right? Fair enough. Then we got 50-year-old Brock Lesnar, 50-year-old steroided up Brock Lesnar. He's got an open challenge, I guess, right? Is that what he's doing for ESPN? An open challenge or for WrestleMania?
A mystery opponent, yeah.
Probably gonna be Oba. And if Oba goes over, that's great. That's a great use of Brock Lesnar to put over Oba Femi. But then the rest of the card is just fucking awful. 70 Vakur versus Liv Morgan. You have the original Goon Bait to now the new hotness Goon Bait. Liv Morgan can't wrestle. We're kidding, right? Like we're not sitting. No one's gonna sit here and defend her athleticism, which is non-existent, right? We're not doing that. And then 70 Vakur, as talented as she is, thanks to fucking Booker T normalizing the gooning of her, she's become a joke. All people see when they see her now is a sexual object because of people like Booker T and the WWE for how they present her. Once you normalize something, that becomes the status quo. And I know people are going to be like, no, 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 that's not true. It is true. We all know why Stephanie Vakur's over. We all know why Liv Morgan's over. And by proxy, we all know why Dominic Mysterio's over. Dominic Mysterio's not over because he's a good talent. He's fucking underhook in terms of talent. You paired him with Liv Morgan, you got him over. And I know this is going to shock some people, but sometimes you put the ugly, unathletic, uncharismatic douchebag with the hot chick, and they get over. What ends up happening, though, usually is that the girl gets over so much that they leave the guy behind. Hi, Sable and Mark Merrill.
I agree.
Right? So now we're in a situation where these two women have basically been reduced to erotic dreams, as sad as that is to say. And the match itself, like, what is this match going to be like? Vakur is legitimately one of the best women's wrestlers in the world today. Top. Liv Morgan's not even in the bottom 20. She's not horrible. She's just not good. Liv has value on the roster as a similar kind of role as Danhausen. She is charismatic. People want to be around her. They want to see her on TV. But when she wrestles, it's like watching a three-legged dog hump a cactus. It's not entertaining, but you're sure something bad is going to happen eventually. And that's Liv Morgan in the ring. Great. But you just know something's going to happen that's bad. And you can't look away. Speaking of bad things you can't look away, why is Randy Orton in a WrestleMania title match? He is a fucking 70-year-old. Somebody's like, well, he's only 3 years older than Kenny Omega, and you're fine with Kenny Omega main event. Well, Kenny Omega's only been a main eventer in his company for about 6 years. 5 if we're cutting out the time of his diverticulitis. Or was it diverticulitis, or was it something else? I think it was something else. Maybe it was. He's had a lot of physical ailments, like Kenny Omega. Randy Orton has been headlining show in the WWE for 22 years. Good. It's not a question on it. It really fucking isn't. He is a gassed up, slow, unathletic, boring, rudimentary, been there, done that jackass with one move and no personality. We're good. Good. We don't need any more. 22 years of it, I'll take the check. Please. Fucking hell, can we eat somewhere else for lunch? But here's what I'll say about McIntyre. This dude never has been that guy. I know some fans are like, oh my God, I love Drew McIntyre. He's got the personality of a one-note bully. He's got the moveset of a slightly altered, physically speaking, bully. He has the hairline of somebody who 5 years ago should have known the jig was up. And as much as he wants to try to, tout the Scottish tradition, no one buys it. He is not a marketing. He's not a big marketing draw. I don't know why he's the world champion. I don't know why he's heading into WrestleMania world champion. Don't sit here and tell me because he draws money, because he fucking doesn't. Stephanie McCurry doesn't draw money. Jade Cargill doesn't draw money. Don't sit here and tell me Drew McIntyre does. And Randy Orton draws even less money. Now, you could put Cody in there. I think that's the only way they can go to get this match to be worthwhile. But, like, holy goddamn. The number of guys that are... This is late era WCW. Let's just, Marcus, let's play the game. Let's play the game. We have 5 men announced for WrestleMania matches. We're going to play the game. Marcus, it's called Wolverine Average of the 5 headlining males of WrestleMania 42. I'm going to put the ages in. CM Punk is 47. Roman Reigns is 40. Drew McIntyre is 40. I actually thought he'd be a little older. Randy Orton is 45. He'll actually be 46 at WrestleMania, so we're going to count his WrestleMania age. And Brock Lesnar is 48. It's 5 men. Marcus, what is the median average of these 5 men? Are we talking over 44? Are we talking under 44?
Let's see, McIntyre, Orton, Reigns, Punk.
Do we think the average
Anybody else?
age
That'll be.
of the 5 men is over 44 or under 44?
I want to say over.
You are correct. The average median age of these 5 men are 44.2. No one else could run a headlining event with 2 47-year-olds. Or was Brock 48? I think Brock was 47. No, Brock's 48. No other American headlining promotion could run 5 dudes over 40, 2 of which over 47, and anyone not sit here and be like, well, you have no talent underneath you. Seth's almost 40. No. And what young guys you do have, you're fumbling. Braun Breaker is named Braun Breaker, for Christ's sakes. The dude is so physical he can't stay healthy. Yeah, he runs the ring ropes like he's sprinting down a hallway on a slight decline. But he can't stay in the fucking ring for long. And he's not even doing house shows. So, like, there's no excuse for why this dude can't be on every show. He just keeps getting hurt. You don't have anyone underneath. Yeah, they're doing a real good job. Like, Trick would not. Like, listen, I don't think Trick's the guy. I know a lot of people think he's the guy. He's not the guy. Oba's the guy. Carmella could be the guy. Braun could be the guy. Those guys could be the guys. They were all called up way too soon. And here's another thing. It's a controversial statement. If NXT's a developmental brand, they should not be broadcasting shows. Here's why. I'm so burnt out on Oba Femi. He just got to the main roster. Why am I burnt out on him? Because I've been watching him for 3 fucking years in developmental, or however long it's been. Why am I burnt out on a rookie? Stop showing developmental programming. Like, the NXT as a show just doesn't work anymore. Not for what you're trying to do it with. If you're trying to showcase it as a legitimate third brand, that's fine. I think that's stupid, but I think that's fine. I think having a developmental show that's being showcased as a primary show is bad for your talent. That being said, you don't really have any guys underneath because you're calling up so many right now, heading into WrestleMania, to put in the WrestleMania headline situation. The hope is that maybe next year. This is where things get a little interesting. When you look at the women, Jade Cargill, 33. Rhea Ripley, 29. Stephanie McCur, 32. Liv Morgan, 31. All these women, for the most part, are still in their athletic prime. They've been planning this a lot better for the women than they have the men. You know, you're looking at almost a 10-year increase. The male headliners and the female headliners. We're not still rolling out Asuka in the main event. Thank God we're not rolling out Charlotte Flair in the main event. We're moving on. The industry has moved away from Asuka. No longer Asuka. She's been going hard for like 12 years. She's in her 40s, if I remember correctly. She's not the headliner anymore. Charlotte Flair. There's so many things I want to say, and all of them are super mean, so I'm not going to. But whatever she was when she got called up, does not have that anymore. Same thing with Alexa Bliss. So they move on to other talent. Now, are they using them all correctly? I don't know where the fuck Julia is. And considering she was as talented as a female wrestler as Dragon Lee was a male wrestler, they hired both. And to watch her have a worse WWE run so far than Dragon Lee, heartbreaking. So we do have different women in the main event, but compared to where we were 10 years ago, we can't say that about the men. But we can say that the women are sitting through Randy Orton's 116th main event. All that being said, Marcus, I can't find one legitimate reason to be excited about this card as it sits right now. CM Punk and Roman Reigns are both done physically. CM Punk is not the same wrestler he was 10 years ago. He's not the same wrestler he was when he joined in AEW. Roman Reigns is noticeably less in tune physically. He was never a great athlete, which is why he failed at football. But whatever he had going for him, 2001, he lost a step. I know some people are going to be like, yes, he lost a step. And now you're going to put two old dudes in the ring together? Oh, that's not going to go well. McIntyre, he's not that good, but he's not that good, and he hasn't been that good in most of his career, so he hasn't really lost a step. I like a McIntyre match, that's fine. Randy Orton is shit himself. He's 44, 45, 46, whatever, 46. And he hasn't moved well in 10 years. Bad hips, bad knees, bad shoulders. And now they're going to put him in a main event spot against somebody who still can move pretty right. All the steroids have made Drew McIntyre slower, but he's been slow since he came back. It's not like he's lost a step since he joined up. That match isn't going to be great. You could add Cody. Cody's still pretty nimble and athletic, and he's not juiced to the gills. So he could probably still have the cardio necessary to make the match go 20. But I think Cody has worn people out, and I don't think anyone really wants to see Cody in this match. Marcus, do you want to see Cody in this match? I think I lost
Yeah,
Marcus. There you are.
the Cody Drew thing's just been done to death. And Orton's not really a better choice, but he's a fresher choice in the regard of we haven't seen him running him and Drew for months on end. Um, it almost feels like they were playing in Drew's face so many times they kind of just had to give him the title because of like they gave him too many opportunities to get it and didn't allow him to win. So um, they kind of had to do that. Cody at this point to me has cooled off. He's more annoying now than he is must see. Uh, I know a lot of people late to that party for you. Uh, but yeah, it's they need to do something. Obviously, hold what I think 15 or 16 victories normal with Orton and Mania with this. So they may go that route and then they may turn around and do that so they can go to Cody and Orton route proper. But there's also a wild card with Sammy on the verge of snapping because he can't seem to get in position. He could never seem to get in position to really win the title, and then when he finally did get in position, he lost to Drew for like the 11th or 12th time. So then there's that, and he's on the verge of snapping now because he keeps trying to do the right things the right way, and they keep going wrong. So there's that. But yeah, it's no real excitement there. I mean, Drew is cool, but I've never been excited to see an Orton match, and I don't necessarily know how their chemistry gonna be, and the way that they book stuff, they might end up making that a triple threat by the time we get to Mania. So
As far as Cody goes, I think the sheen is off the rose, so to speak.
yeah,
I think the problem with Cody is not a likable person. I don't mean it as a wrestler. I think that's his greatest attribute. The more Cody talks outside of wrestling, the more times he sits down and goes, I want to be real. Let's talk. You start to find out he's an arrogant, low IQ, dumb son of a bitch. And I think you end up finding out, oh my god, he's a moron. First of all, his favorite Star Wars movie is what is it?
the Last Jedi.
Yeah. No, is it? Is that the eighth movie, The Last Jedi? The one with that stupid fucking scene where the ship blows up the Star Destroyer by jumping into hyperspeed or hyperdrive, even though that's not the way the fucking universe works. Or like Mary Poppins of fucking Leia. Oh god, that movie was so bad. It's his favorite movie. I guarantee you, if you give him enough times, Cody Rhodes will write a dissertation on why Quentin Tarantino is allowed to use the N-word slur. He's like one of those chimps at the typewriter. You give him enough time, he writes Shakespeare, right?
Yeah.
He's a Tommy's blowhard who's called racism.
You talk about it before. It's like it's a bad version of one like itis. Um, like the dude that's always trying to be cool, and every attempt just makes him come off more uncool. Like man, you're really pulling the curtain back on this Wizard of Oz thing. Uh,
Right? He has
yeah,
he has don't want to like it. It's right. I don't want to dislike it. The way he writes the way he moves them, there's so much sincerity in his character that when you get to his mealy mouth nonsense outside, and you're like, oh, you're dumb. Cody gets easy. It's very easy to get a win on dunking on Disco Inferno. But then you sit here and you talk about, John Cena. But yet you sit and you stand up and advocate for your wife, black woman in this country, and you talk about how she taught you so much about, how black experience should actually be viewed as. It's not saying skin color. Brandon talked so much about what being different in this country feel like, and that was like great moments. There was some solidarity there, some genuine sympathy there. And he sits out all of this Janelle Grant stuff. Now, I know we're going to do something better. Yes. It's the whole reason I lost respect for CM Punk. Zero respect for this guy. Same with Cody. These dudes talk such a big fucking game. And then they shut their fucking mouths when people expect them to be the loudest. I can't take it being personally, and it's why I think CM Punk and Cody Rhodes have a lot of luster. Because people are taking them for the phonies they are. So, needless to say, I think Cody's time as a top draw on face is over. I really don't even think it was that profitable. But I'm also not going to sit and be like, oh, they shouldn't have taken the belt off of Roman. Yeah, they should have. Roman's fucking boring. Like, he's the fucking worst. He wrestled one time in 6 months. Oh my god, he's fucking awful. Now, listen, great job if you can get it. But he did... During that whole Bloodline storyline, he had no great matches. You can sit here and say he had some good matches. That's fair. But he was wrestling Jey Uso. So don't fucking tell me he had some great matches. He had no great promos. He didn't talk. Now, granted, again, great aura. Aura doesn't make moments, though. Aura doesn't make memories. Aura is nothing. It is high fructose corn sugar. It is whipped cream. It is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's a boring ass run. I don't ever know what I like to watch. That Bloodline moment on repeat. Which one? Pick one. They're all the fucking same. Until Cody won, every single moment was goddamn same. And even the Cody victory is just so bad. Like you had to have The Rock and Roman beat you. And then you had to have The Rock come out. And then you had to have The Undertaker come out. And John Cena come out. And who I don't even remember who else came out. Somebody else. I forget who. But like, yeah, you had all these runs, right? And like, who fucking cares? And at the end of the day, like, the whole WrestleMania big time moment didn't make any fucking sense. Why is The Undertaker there? Why is he dressed like he just got off the fucking airplane? Why does Taker look like he just got done protesting a Mexican restaurant?
Sure.
Why does he look like Big Republican instead of Big Evil?
Put the lad because now he's over Triple H.
Right? So you have The Undertaker, who really has never had a long-term feud with The Rock. I think you have to go back to 1999. And you had him come out to end WrestleMania. Like who? And not only that, but he only looked like 3 inches taller than The Rock. And The Rock is like 6'5". So this whole Undertaker 7-foot bullshit, out the window. And Taker was wearing boots, too, so he's probably not even that high. And the whole reason why they did it is because Stone Cold didn't want to do it. Because Stone Cold thought it was stupid. Now, that's not an exact quote. But with the money they're paying guys, and Stone Cold turns you down, why do you think that was? Why do you think that was? Why do you think that was? So, yeah, the whole Cody thing, I think, is just, expired, and it's time to move on from that. But they don't have any headliners at this point, so, like, we're stuck watching Geriatric Man. Whatever. The only interesting thing about this card so far, Marcus, has been the actual drama that has come out from the women, and it's always the women. What? Can you ladies not with the personal nonsense? Jade Cargill went off on Rhea Ripley, and basically, hey, it must be easy when you get always time with the creative guys, and I'm like, why are you bringing up the writers? Jade, what are you doing? You could have made this into such a hot angle, and instead you're really just justifying why so many people dislike you. Now, Jade has no wrestler. And I know some people really wanted to push the narrative that she did when she joined it. Because, like, she was doing, who was it? Bianca and Naomi? Was that who she was doing six women tag matches with?
Yeah, she was going. They was doing the whole big three thing, and then her and Bianca won the tag titles, and then Naomi was kind of the very well loved third wheel, and then they did the betrayal storyline which kicked off Naomi's heel turn.
Which one? Terrible fucking idea. Naomi is the female version of Ricky Steamboat, which still baffles me because I've never enjoyed her, but like people love her. So I don't know why you would turn her heel. That's stupid. Um, but Naomi was the worker. Naomi was there to help Bianca out and to make Jade look good. Bianca, I will never say has been one of the best female wrestlers in the world because I don't think that's true. However, she is one of the best testaments to the PC development process that we have. Because I watched her for a matches and she was fucking awful. Oh yeah, B plus. She's great. I wouldn't say on her talent alone that she's a Hall of Famer, but in terms of her accolades, the way she got over, the unique hair situation with that whip, she's an absolute Hall of Famer. And she can hang with anyone in the ring that she wants with. Like you put there with Liv Morgan and you get a solid passable match. Not great. She's not Trinity. She's good. Jade is every bit as bad as Naomi talented. Jade looks phenomenal. Puts in the work in the gym. She has two left feet. She is uncoordinated. And with all the strength and weight room athletics that she has, it has not translated. And that's why she's not defending the title. Whatever you want. Say whatever you want about this woman in terms of her talent and her natural abilities. If she could wrestle more often, she would. She did not have a title defense. I think she still hasn't had a title defense in 3 or 4 months. And there's a reason for that. Because she's not very good. They don't have anyone who they can put with her to make her look better. All of the talented wrestlers that they have on the women's division for just I think she's on SmackDown. All of them are either hurt or already involved in another feud. And you're not going to sacrifice them for Jade at this point. Now, Jade is taking shots at Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley's taking shots at Jade. Then all of a sudden, Chelsea Green and Dewdrop, what's her name?
Piper Niven.
She's taking shots. Now people are like, oh my God, I can't believe these women are being so unprofessional. Then there's reports coming out that Jade has been rubbing people the wrong way, that she's not putting in the work, that she's taking all these vacations, that she wasn't hurt when she said she was hurt. And I believe that there's probably truth to all that because I know pro wrestling. When somebody thinks they're bigger than they are, that's what happens. So we see it with Charlotte Flair. Every fucking time she shows up, she walks in, demands all of the pomp and praise the Flair name demands, but then gets mad at you for comparing her to her father, even though she took his name, took his rope, took his moves, took his music. That's right. You want to be an original? Then why the fuck did you just, copy paste? Now, in Jade's defense, in Jade's situation, not in her defense, but in Jade's situation, she came from AEW. And Cody Rhodes and Tony Khan, whatever fucking he's running women's saw Jade Cargill and said, yes, we're going to make you a star. No, but I'm sleeping with a former Major League All-Star, so I can pay them. Yes! I love Brandon Phillips. Brandon Phillips used to be a member of the Cleveland Indians back when they were the Cleveland Indians. Hothead. Got traded away because, people didn't like him. Then he became a stud in Cincinnati. And then he married Jade Cargill. So, listen, this dude's winning at life. But that was her only claim to fame to any average wrestling fan because no one follows bodybuilding. Only bodybuilders follow bodybuilding. So, if Jade Cargill was doing bodybuilding competitions, no one fucking heard of her. Because who the fuck follows bodybuilding? She was a guard forward for the Jacksonville University women's basketball team. And then she started training for wrestling in apparently 2018. but she didn't do anything until she got to the ring in 2021. So that's a long fucking time to train, and I don't think she had her first match until AEW. So like, if that's really the case, they rushed her to the spotlight pretty damn fast. See if I'm correct on that. Yeah, she's only wrestled for technically two promotions, AEW and WWE. She started training 3 years beforehand. Never had a match before. That should have been a huge fucking sign that she needed either a lot more polish or a lot more work. And for some reason, it wasn't. And I don't get that. I don't at all. They strapped a rocket to her. She floundered, went over to WWE, has not been the impact player they thought they were signing. And now she's kind of in the situation where if she doesn't succeed now, she's not going to. She's been in the company for now 3 years. We're out of excuses at this point. It's been 6 years. She started training in 2018. It's been 8 years since she debuted, since she got in the ring. She's 33. At a certain point, you have to cut ties and just be like, this has not been a success. And if the rumors about her being such a pain in the locker room and rubbing all of the people who are trying to make her look better is true, I don't know how you can even go forward with WrestleMania. I don't know why you're going to WrestleMania with her as champion, but I think having Julia on scene would be a great idea. But they're kind of geared towards this match. Marcus, the cardio situation, any thoughts on it?
Yeah, this is interesting because it's always anytime I try to take a day off from X, it blows up every time. It never fails. Um,
Always something on that app.
always something. Yeah. So when I caught up on all this, um, because I mean, a Raw. Remember the Raw roster, run the Royal Rumble, and then another thing, run the champ. I just wonder, like, until your point, big fan, I obviously love Bianca Belair. Can't wait for her to come back. Hope she's healing up good. But I just wonder just how much them planning on her being back by now, and then that not going as planned. Just absolutely threw a monkey wrench and stuff. But I wonder if this would have been the spot Bianca would have had, because people have been essentially calling for them to clash since they came together. Although Jade has been more so calling Charlotte, and they've teased the two of them clashing with like 10 to 15 standoffs with each other. So they didn't go that route. But like I said, things could always go left. You know how they like to throw monkey wrenches last minute, make stuff triple threats. They did that with Bianca and Io last year. So who knows? But in terms of this stuff on social media, it's being called. I've seen it's being dubbed a work shoot, but it didn't come off like that at all at first. And Jay's always been outspoken on social media. And what made it even more interesting with the Chelsea Green thing, people remember because you and I also covered this heavily when it was going on Speaking Out movement. Chelsea Green was one of the linchpin grenades that blew up Tessa Blanchard's spot. You know, so if it's a work shoot, I guess. Um, although there have been, like you said, rumors before about Jade's attitude and how that's gone over, not gone over behind the scenes, even though it's touted that everybody's, kind of kumbaya. I know I saw some stuff online where they try to make it a race thing. I don't think it's that. I think there are just some people who just don't get along with other people, no matter how much people like them. Um, and we rarely, if ever, hear anything bad about Rhea. Oftentimes, we see her championing the women, particularly on social media, when they get attacked, whether that be when they were booing Maxine out of house shows, or just one day when Bianca got a lot of uh, just bigoted, racist stuff online. She showed up both times to kind of tell people to f off. So I don't know. I don't know how that's gonna work out. We gonna see it Friday if it does. The crazy thing is, it just feels like they're doing the Tiffany Charlotte thing all over again. Um, Most we know Triple H just kind of like to spam stuff anyway, like stuff with all these masked guys, and there's so many narratives he just run Rich Ross and repeats over and over again. So um, I root for Jade. I want to root for Jade. I want her to have all the things and become the person she says she is. Um, she's oftentimes looked more uh, still getting it together than not. She's had her moments, but it really is depending on her dance partner. And Rhea's one of the best dance partners to have, but we're gonna see how that's gonna go. Um, that's probably the only thing I'm really interested in right now coming off of this. But I can't trust them not to fumble nothing. They fumble like the John Cena thing is like it's a new level for them for a fumbling ball on a run right now where across the board, and to me SmackDown's been better than Raw, but across the board everything's just been ho hum. So I don't know. I think Rhea could really get a good match out of Jade. Um, I feel like depending on how that's gonna go, once Bianca comes back, they'll have a better concrete situation with the women. But yeah, I don't necessarily know how this is gonna go. Jade is humble is not the first word I use when it comes to her, and Rhea's not gonna take nothing off of nobody. So whether it was real, whether it was fake, uh, but we'll see how this pans out.
Do you think Jade can finally get over the hump, so to speak?
Yeah, yeah, cause she's and then maybe this is just my eyesight. She has gotten better. It has been times I'm just like, okay, she's still finding it. Um, Also, I've seen lately like she's not thinking as she's going. She's kind of just doing and kind of being and playing and playing off things better and doing better stuff and how she moves and how she uses the powers and how she plays to the audience or don't play into the audience a moment when she needs to and then don't need to. But so much of that is like when you have people like Rhea and Io and Bianca and others that we've mentioned, like even Kiana James is coming off very impressive now. Uh, it's just interesting because to your point, like you said, she hasn't defended the belt. I don't know how much of that has just been her wanting to be them trying to portray as this big bad bully that really doesn't have any competition. Because before she got the title, she kind of was squashing people, or they just don't want to overplay their hand with her. And also, they're plagued with a lot of injuries now. So if she goes down, they really will be down on people. So, well, maybe that's a worration too. I think she can if she puts if they give them the time and they really whatever hump this is between her and Rhea, they give them the time, they put together a quality match. She can come out looking good. Like I said, a lot of it is depending on her dance partner. Stuff with Tiffany was like, I think they've kind of overplayed their hand with Tiffany. They need to kind of lessen her. But I think Rhea's right on the money. I think this will be a good test to see down the line when she eventually clashes with Charlotte or Bianca how it's going to go.
If she struggles with Rhea, or if Jade and Charlotte finally, square off in a pretty decent series, and it goes poorly, does that kind of wrap it up for you for her?
Yeah, I think what you're going to have to do at that point is I think she could probably do well. Like I said, if this topples and tanks, which I hope it doesn't, I think she do well with like the Women's U.S. Championship or something like that. She thrive in that area, and God knows they could use it because as good as Julia has been touted to be, she is not what she was supposed to be when they brought her in NXT, and she had an absolute match of the year candidate with Stephanie. They were both supposed to get the Rocket, and Stephanie is kind of done her own thing and maintained, and Julie's kind of just feeling like she fell off the cliff, even though we see her every week. It doesn't feel like there's no spark there. She's supposed to be one of the best, coming from what I think Stardom and stuff like that. Whoever she was, she's not really getting to showcase that, and she's not coming off of um as she was touted to be. It's kind of feeling like she's like the female Nakamura in that regard.
Yeah, unfortunately. I would say that if Jade can quell whatever tensions in the locker room, make right with all the people she's wrong, assuming that even if she struggles as a singles, I don't think if you look at you don't have to lose your job. Like they kept around Chris Masters for like 8 years for a reason. It wasn't because he was older. I think you just find a tag team partner that Jade can work with. Someone smaller, quicker, and better in the ring, and then you have Jade just be the Diesel, the Kevin Nash of the group, and you let them be a significant tag team. If you do that, one, you could probably elevate the tag titles higher than they've ever been, and two, you can put Jade in situations where she can win more. I really think they're trying to push her as this big, Greek goddess because one, she looks the way she does. Two, she came from AEW. She was probably the first. Did she sign before Cody? She was either the first or second big AEW signing the other way around. There's a lot of investment in her to get her to be a bigger deal than she is. So I feel like you could still salvage her with a tag team, like strong, legitimate 5, 6 year run tag team. We'll see if they got the guts to do that though. If she struggles, we'll see. Rhea's a good worker. If she can bring out a lot from a lot of people. She's not the perfect person to put her in this match with, but she's good enough. So I'm interested to see what ends up happening here. But that kind of takes us to the end of the story. Mark, is there anything else you want to touch on before we go?
That's oh nothing else is guess real quick. Have you been how have you been feeling real quick about TNA's weekly product? I think to me they've been consistent and getting far better. I think the greatest indictment to the debut uh, AMC show is just how consistent I feel like these weekly shows have been. Now you could be disenchanted with the workers, and feel like they could be getting better talent and whatnot, but I feel like they've established themselves from being more consistent about what they're doing, who they're doing it with, and constantly making sure they give us like a match of the night type of deal. Um, Hats off to Elijah and Mustafa. I think they did a hell of a job. But I feel like the show's been consistent. I just wish they kind of would have came up with that energy on that debut. Um, but all you can do is go forward. So how you been feeling about their weekly show?
I think their weekly show has been fine. I'm not overly enthused. Some weeks have been better than others. The one week, I think it was this week 2, was like phenomenal television. Some weeks have been just ho hum, borderline, whatever. None have been as bad as the premiere, thank God. But sometimes, and this is part of the issue, they don't have the name value that keeps people interested. So like I tune in and I see like Alan Angel. I don't even know who the fuck was on last week's show. I didn't watch last week's show. Not out of some like oh my god, but I was busy and I've just never gotten around to watching it. But the matches that they were advertising just didn't do anything for me. I think like a casket match with Elijah and Mustafa.
Yeah,
That's like a fine match, I guess. Like I like Elijah to an extent. I think he's got some personality and he can go in the ropes. But as a singles feud, these two just don't really do it for me. You have this ability to do the politician, public type of feud, and I feel like they're not really doing that with these two. I think it's like a Timu version of Flair Dusty. like the rich guy
Mm.
versus the everyman guy, and it ain't working for me. And that seems to be their biggest headlining feud at the moment. I know they're building up to doing Santana and Eddie at some point, and they're also building up to do Nemeth and Santana at some point. But like a lot of the feuds seem to be in flux. They don't have anyone really for the Hardy Boys. No, it feels like the righteous just has not gotten over, and I'm really not surprised because you didn't give them a chance to get over. You just forced them to be over, and I feel like there's an issue there. Like when you push them like right out the front of the gate, especially when people don't really know who Dutch is. I think it what was he, Bill Carr at one point. When you bring in Dutch, like you needed some time to show him up, and while people knew who Vincent was, I don't think Vincent had the same type of notoriety and name value that people thought he had, 3 or whatever it was years after he was in TNA last as part of Honor No More. So I don't feel like they did a great job getting them set up for success with the Hardys, and now the Hardys are again without a dance partner. And at this point, I'm just kind of wondering, when's Johnny Impact's contract up in AEW? Do you think we could bring him and Joey Mercury back? Because at that point, that's really all they have left. So I don't know. The TNA product, I would say right now, is sitting at a solid C plus. Mickey doesn't add. She doesn't move. She didn't move the needle for me last time. She didn't move the needle for me from the time before. I feel like she's only in town because she's the only name they have that they could get
Yeah.
that people know. It isn't even necessarily anything that I would say is impressive. Like she's not a good worker anymore. She used to be one of the best, and I mean that. She really was a great worker. She's like 47. Her knees are shot to shit. She doesn't move like she used to, and it happens. Wrestlers will always break down, and their knees are often the first to go. Like look at Awesome Kong. Like she retired in her early 40s because her knees were so messed up. You watch her move around in her last, few matches in AEW, and I think she had a match in the NWA or TNA. I forget what her last match was. And like she didn't look great. She looked passable, but she was truly great at one point. Mickey, same thing. Like, how many more last dances are we gonna have to, get from Mickey before we realize the song stopped playing? TNA needs to focus on building up their talent and producing next level rivalries. Not being able to retain Deanna Prato and Jordan Grace is holding this company back. They should have been feuding for 3 straight years. They should have been Stone Cold and The Rock. They were the perfect blend of styles and personalities, aesthetics, just general vibes. And TNA fumbled both.
Yeah.
So
Uh, and they're trying to do something with the women, but like I said, she may be the best in the division, but only so much they're gonna allow themselves to do with Tessa. She's doing everything but getting the main title in the division, and a lot of that has to do with just everything that comes with her. Um, I like Sade. Uh, Thankfully they got her away from Ryan Nemeth, but I'm not looking forward to a feud with her and Cora Jade.
well, poor Jade has. I think there is a lot of potential with Sade that I did not see in her NXT run, which I'm not that surprised about. While it can produce some talents like Braun Breaker and Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, I don't think they often develop talents correctly because one of the things a wrestler does more than anything is repetition. Repetition, 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 repetition. Just constantly. You need to get in the ring. You need to get in the ring with different people. You need to get worked in different environments with different crowds. You need to run the circuit. It is the only way to learn. It's like bringing in a basketball player, right? And you sand him at the 3 point line, and you just chuck threes, and he becomes a great 3 point shooter. Steph Curry, Reggie Miller levels. Then you ask him to play defense. Oh, well, he's a turnstile. You ask him to take the ball up the court, maybe be a facilitator. Can't dribble, kicks it off his knees. What about rebounding? Rebounding? Nah, that's too physical. I don't do that. Free throws, misses every time. Well, shit, son, you've been shooting threes for the last 16 years. Why can't you do anything else? Because, buddy, I've only been shooting threes for the last 16 years. I can't do anything else. That becomes the issue. You wrestle one style, that's what you can do. And that one style isn't indicative or really helpful for producing high-end talents. The best workers the WWE has have come from different companies and different countries. You could argue Roman Reigns was the biggest draw for a few years. I think that's fair. He was never their best worker. Ever. So now you're in a situation where you get Martha out of the performance center and you're making her work every day. Tour circuit, hit up the indies, wrestle a bunch of names. You can develop it. Like once you start, it's like bodybuilding. Once you start breaking down your muscles, they start to get bigger. You start breaking down your body in other venues, and you're forced to adapt to different crowds, and you allow yourself to fail to know what works and what doesn't. You get better. If you watched Rob Van Dam when he first got into pro wrestling, he was a dork and no one would have ever loved to watch him wrestle. He failed constantly. He learned what worked, what didn't work, and he adapted his game to be something that works consistently. And then he became a megastar in industry where he didn't need the WWE marketing machine. Like from 1996 to 2013, he was one of the most popular wrestlers on the scene. And he back in TNA was 2019 with Joey Ryan and Katie Forbes. He was still ultra popular. And I think it's Mark the opportunity to go out and do the same thing that RVD has done. That other guy before him has done, where she works the circuit, figures out what works for her, what doesn't work for her, so is she going to fine tune her entire general aesthetic and gimmick and in-ring performances? I think she could be something impressive. She's got the look, she's got the vibe, she's got the smoothness, she moves well, she's got an athleticism that I don't think a lot of women generally have, who get cut by the WWE. You know, you look at someone like Zach Brookside, or you look at Elena Black. They are struggling to stay on anyone's level athletically. You put them in the ring with Lily Lee or Martin, they look like a step behind. So I think there's potential there, and I'm curious to see what they can do with her. You have to get Storm on your roster, like Jesus Christ, like, you have a shot to turn anything around. And she's got the athleticism and the awareness to do so. So I'm excited to see what she can do. I think she's at least 2 years away from the title, if we're even thinking about the title. But I would like to see what she could do if you let her run the circuits, let her go to Japan, let her run through Mexico, let her run through the American Indies. I think she might be something real special. We'll see though. There's a lot of meat left, a lot of time to figure that out. Anything else from TNA that you got though? I think I lost Marcus. I think I talked too much.
Sorry about that. No, that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well, then I think we're good. We will call this a show. I think we're maybe 2 weeks away from doing the Ted DiBiase deep dive. Once we do, though, it'll be pretty spectacular. I think you'll really be happy with what we got going on for that one. I'm toying with names for that. The entire episode's just going to be about the rise and fall of the DiBiase family. Ted Jr., Brett. Yeah, we'll talk about Brett DiBiase. And how they kind of blew an easy opportunity to be millionaires in pro wrestling by being absolute dunces outside of it. Isn't that just the story of pro wrestling? So, with that being said, you can check us out at the website, realnerdcorp.com. We had some issues with it over the weekend, but We're on Twitter at NerdCorp, NERDCRP. We're on YouTube and Twitch at Wrestling Underground. Excuse me, that's Wrestling Underground. Marcus, you're on Twitter at Paradox Kid. PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You know, find him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show. Marcus, what do you guys got going on The True Penny Show?
Yeah, upcoming. I mean, we got New Japan Cups upcoming, but recently I was on True Finish Show. We covered. I'm pretty sure you may be familiar with this Fantastic Mania
Be sure to check them out.
joint show between.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go on.
Yeah, just joint show between CMLL and New Japan. Fantastic Mania. Just check it out. It's a great show. If you have some way to watch it, go do it. But yeah, we covered that. That show.
You can find them on their Twitter account at The True Penny Show, at True Penny Show. TRUEPENNYS. You upload the shows. And links are on their Twitter account, so check them out there. For me, though, you can find me at Chad Nerdcorp, CHEDNERDCORP, and on the Instagram at For Marcus, I'm Chad. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for a chance for always to watch more wrestling. And Marcus, take us home.
Like